For the past 12 years, the Driehaus Foundation has supported the BGA because we believe in the need for investigative journalism. It is frightening to imagine a world without the benefit of the truths at the heart of this work. Tonight, third place winners looked at the secretive agency that investigates police misconduct and police shootings in Chicago. It's called the Independent Police Review Authority. But just how independent is it? Let's listen and find out.
We discovered that the Independent Police Review Authority, despite its name, independent, was being led by former sworn law enforcement personnel. Secondly, we found that the agency had been trying to silence or even terminating investigators that in some cases had found officers at fault for shootings. We also found out that the agency was trying to scrub case files of any signs of dissension about shooting cases where investigators thought that the officers were at fault, but the bosses did not.
Since the story broke, the agency's leadership has undergone significant changes. All things policing have come under closer scrutiny. Congratulations to WBEZ for its series of reports called Inside IPRA. Chip Mitchell and Derek John, please come up and receive your award. Oh. You guys are big.
Well, what an honor it is to be listed for any sort of recognition by the Better Government Association, Mr. Driehaus.
Tonight's second place winner is an in-depth investigative series that stunned our judges. It began with the rape of a 14-year-old girl in Southern Illinois. When she told her story to the police, they didn't believe her, and her attackers were never charged. That story prompted a pair of reporters to find out how often sexual assault victims find justice.
Mistakes made by the police. The police interviewed her literally in public right near her house while other policemen stood around joking with themselves.
We were kind of the mind that this kind of thing had to happen all the time, the way police were treating the situation. The thing that probably surprised George and I the most is most of these women, when we asked them if we could use their name, they were pretty unfailing in saying, yes, use my name, take my picture. They wanted somebody to hear their story, and it was important to them, and they were very courageous, telling very private details to a stranger again and trusting us with their story again.
70% of persons identified as felony sex crime criminals don't get prosecuted. In our largest county, over the same period of time, it's over 80% don't get prosecuted. In some cities, including in Carbondale, Illinois, where there's a large university, it's nearly 90% don't get prosecuted.
When you start thinking about more than 4,000 men in Southern Illinois have been accused of sexual assault and never been prosecuted.
This is the second time we've welcomed these winners to our stage. From the Belleville News Democrat, it's my pleasure to present this award to Beth Hundsdorfer and George Pawlaczyk. Please come up.
Well, this is certainly a great honor, and we, as the previous winners mentioned, we certainly appreciate the BGA and Richard. This kind of thing really encourages the very type of thing that we do. I'm going to let Beth finish.
I just want to thank all the women who bravely came forward, shared their stories, trusted us.
The final award. The seminal reporting of tonight's first prize winner laid the foundation for the release of the Laquan McDonald shooting video, the one that spurred protests, unseated a police chief, and prompted a Justice Department investigation. Here's more on that story.
So the story begins with a tip from somebody in law enforcement who reached out with the information that a shooting that had occurred maybe 2 weeks earlier was not at all what had been reported, that the facts were widely divergent from the story that had been told by Chicago media generally. He provided the information that there was dash cam video from one of the police cars and expressed great skepticism that the case was going to be vigorously investigated. He also had information about a civilian witness who had come to IPRA, the Independent Police Review Authority, on his own initiative to describe what he had seen that night. With some effort, I was able to locate the civilian witness, and ultimately he agreed to talk with me, although he was gravely concerned at the time about the possibility of police reprisals. He had just witnessed this extraordinary event, the execution of a child on the streets of the city, and was very much concerned about his own safety. He could not help but tell me ultimately what he had seen and gave an account that would be corroborated by the now famous video when it came out. The next step in the process was the finding out the content of the autopsy, which I did through sources close to the medical examiner, and then at the first opportunity securing a copy of the autopsy report when it became subject to FOIA request. That was the moment when it became absolutely definitively clear that the city had lied at every stage in this process about what had happened that night. The autopsy was the definitive proof. There was just no way that Laquan McDonald could have been shot 16 times and that could be squared with the official narrative of what had happened.
Congratulations to Jamie Kalven for his story, 16 Shots, which appeared in Slate. Come on, Jamie.
Thank you. I have to say that when I first stood at the corner of 41st and Pulaski, the site of the Laquan McDonald incident,